Would you tell your best friend her husband was cheating on her? This is what happened to me. My best friend saw my husband out with his ex-girlfriend, and she told me. She called me one day, and I hadn't talked to her in a while, but it's always good to hear from her. I was excited to talk to her and catch up. But what she was about to tell me, I was not prepared for. And so I think we've been friends more than 20 years. And so I think when we first met, I think she told me that if she ever saw my husband with somebody, she would tell me. But, I just imagine I don't know if I could do it, right? I don't know if I could tell my friend that her husband was cheating on her, because it's so emotional, right? And then people will blame you. People will, they will think that they will think it's you. They'll think it's your fault, that this has happened. But I think it was so important that she told me, because I didn't know. I was in denial. And so I always say, every woman has to trust themselves first. They have to trust that their intuition will be able to, tell them things, let them know things that maybe they wouldn't know otherwise, right? I think it's important to love yourself. It's important to know yourself. And I think you don't second guess what your intuition is telling you. There's some things you got to make sure, but typically a woman this has been fine-tuning a woman. And if she's learned to trust it, then she knows that, and so I was telling my husband, he would call me at work and he would say, where are you right now? And of course I had some flexibility in my schedule, not much, but I did have some. And so he would ask me where I was, and I always said the exact same thing. I would say, you sound like a cheater. But I had let people speak into my ear that he was a good man, he was a good husband, that he really loved me, and that no one else would come in and help me take care of 3 children. But I believe that the truth is he saw an opportunity and he took advantage of it. And I let what other people tell me cloud my own judgment. I let what other people tell me make me think that he would never cheat. And so I think it's important that, 3 things. You remember to love yourself first, that you cannot love somebody else until you love yourself completely. I think you have to learn to trust yourself, that the decisions that you make, that they're the right decisions for you. And then you have to know yourself. You really have to know who you are, know what you want, and know, the things that have shook you, things that have changed your life. You have to really know your likes and dislikes and strengths and weaknesses. You have to know these things about yourself, and you have to be very clear about what it is that you are tolerating, your boundaries. And this is important. And so what happened for me was my friend, she saw my husband with his ex at a restaurant, and she told me, I don't know, I can't speak for her, so I don't know if she had trouble coming up with the words. I don't know if I don't know, but I love her. She's like a sister to me. And so we've been friends for so long. I don't know if I could have received it from somebody else like I did for her, but I'm so grateful that she had enough courage to share this with me. But it would change my life. It would turn my life upside down. It would force me to deal with things that I hadn't dealt with in 20 years, 25 years. It is when someone cheats on you, it's life changing, and so, but I believe that, there is something good that could come out of every tragedy. There's something good that can come out of everything that happens to us in life that shakes us. And so it forced me to have a close relationship with God. It forced me to work on myself. It forced me to trust myself, to know that the intuition is important for a woman to listen. Some things are just like little whispers. And I think that for years I had missed the whispers. I hadn't trusted myself in years. I had made so many mistakes, and I'm sure any woman can attest to this. I made so many mistakes until I stopped believing myself. I stopped believing in myself. I stopped trusting myself. I stopped listening to those whispers that were telling me that things were off, that things were awry, things that didn't make any sense, things that I was afraid to confront. They things that I knew was not the truth, and I ignored it, so it's just, you've got to trust yourself. And so just some things that I wish that I had known. And so when she told me, of course, I was in denial. I was making excuses for him, saying it was his assistant, which he had a new assistant at that time. And there were just things that she was telling me that I knew it wasn't. I knew it wasn't his assistant. So, I went from in denial to being angry to sad and to grieving the relationship the way that it was. Sometimes I think that we already know the truth and we've been in denial. Some of us, we're looking for proof, even though our intuition has already told us that this is what it is, And so it is important that you are self-aware. It's important that you pay attention to what is being, the soft whispers. It's important that you love yourself completely. And so this has just been a learning experience. It's been a journey for me. And I think it's such an important journey to share, because at the time, I didn't know anybody who had been cheated on. And except I had read this book, Believe Bigger, by Marshawn Evans Daniels. And if I had not read that book, I would have thought I was the only one. And so I think there's power in sharing your story. I believe, of course, you got to heal first, right? You can't share it out of the initial stages. But once you start to get better and develop and grow, you can share the story, because it'll help somebody else. And you never know what somebody's going through. Of course, you never know how it looks on the outsides of people. They have no idea what's going on behind closed doors. And so I believe there's value in sharing your story. You never know. You'll be surprised who it helps, who it touches, who can understand, who has been through the same thing. And so such an important thing to do is to be able to share with other people what you've experienced. So just something to be thinking about today for yourself is, are there things in your life that you're ignoring, that you know the truth and you're ignoring? Are there things in your life that you need to deal with, or things in your life that you need to address? Think about that for yourself. Think about today, what is it that you're ignoring? What is it that needs to be dealt with right now today? Think about it for yourself. So most women, probably most people, have issues that they're ignoring. There's things that they're wishing would go away, and they're waiting for something to change, something to happen. And it's typically not going to go away on its own. It's going to have to be addressed. And so if you don't address it, the whispers get louder, and then there's things that will explode, So you just got to think about that today. What is it that you need to do? What is it that you need to address? And if you are going through something like this, check out my ebook. There'll be a link below. The name of the book is You Got This. And it is talking about, how do you come back from something like this? How do you come back from devastation, tragedy? How do you come back from emptiness? How do you come back from depression? How do you come back? How do you get back on solid ground? How do you get your feet flat on the ground again and move forward?